Hello, everybody, and happy winter solstice. My name is Lily Nova, if there are any new people here, and I have Jennifer here with me, who is an astrologer. And tonight we're going to be talking about astrology and all about the winter solstice, and give you guys some tips on like 5 things that you need to know about the winter solstice. And yeah, just, chat. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on.
Oh, thank you for inviting me on your show. I'm so happy to be here.
And Jennifer also, what's that?
I love what you're doing. I love this community.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everybody here in live, and for those watching the replay. Jennifer is an author. She's written a couple of books on astrology. So astrology has been coming up for me lately. Like the star beings and source have been nudging me to look more into astrology. I feel like with the way that the energy is picking up now, and with what's going on now, it's becoming more kind of obvious. Like the full moons are affecting me more now than ever in just the little different astrological events. And the certain stars being aligned, like Sirius is up right now. It's a great time to work with the star series, that type of energy. So yeah, and I don't really know much about astrology at all. I know I'm a Gemini, so I wanted to have an astrologer on. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Astrology is a universal language like music. That's the other part of my work and who I am as a human being on this planet. But it is still a language that I'm used to because I've studied it pretty much my whole life, so several decades. And but astrology can be tricky. It can be complicated, and I have done my best to really simplify, to just present astrology basics this evening for anyone listening who really may not know where to start. Mm-hmm. So if you think about astrology, we all know that there are 12 in traditional tropical astrology. I want to clarify that. Mm-hmm. There are 12 signs and 12 sectors, also called houses. Mm-hmm. But there are 4 elements: fire, air, earth, water, and there are 3 modes. So within each one of those 4 elements, you have 3 signs, and it's the modes, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, that give distinction to each one of the fire signs, each one of the air signs, earth and water, etc. Did everyone meditate today? Yes, I did. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, good question. So before we get into the astrology breakdown, could you tell us a little bit? So I was doing a little bit of digging on the winter solstice, and it's interesting because I got this book on Lemuria, and I like flipped it open to a page. I haven't read it yet. And it was a page where they were talking about celebrating the winter solstice and the solstices. So the solstices has been celebrated for, a really, really long time. And it's, like Stonehenge and all of those, ancient structures show and track all of that. So I guess maybe let's start with like, what is the winter solstice?
Sure. So the winter solstice is when darkness is at its peak and it's giving birth to the light. So if everyone can picture the yin and yang symbol, and you've got yin within yang, that black dot within the white side, that's yin within yang. Then you have a white circle inside the shadow or the dark side of yin and yang symbol. So yin within yang, yang within yin. These energies are inextricable. They give birth to each other. They are simply in a flow of energy. The thing about the solstice, though, that I really would like for us to remember in our discussion tonight is that, yes, we experience these solstices annually, but Earth itself experiences her own seasons. And we are in a galactic winter solstice right now on the planet, meaning that we are at we are living in times when darkness is at its peak, but
Right.
it is giving birth to the light. And this is a much grander scale. So when I talk about astrology, I like to remind people that it is the planets that are furthest away from Earth and our solar system that have the greatest impact on our collective evolution, on our civilization as a whole. So I have been talking about Pluto. I have been talking about Sedna. My second book is on Sedna because the last time, and okay, here's what I want to say. Harmonization is the answer to polarization.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Pluto, one of the co-rulers of Scorpio, you're talking about experiencing the extremes. And the reason Scorpio is important now is because right now in the sky, we have South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus. South Node represents where we've been and what we need to transform and utilize the highest vibration of that sign in order to get to the North Node, which is uncharted territory. Uncharted territory, yes. Uncharted territory in Taurus is peace and prosperity. And we can feel how this is like an unreachable goal after Lemuria and Atlantis. I mean, Lemuria I consider as the Garden of Eden. We were living in harmony with the earth. We were living in harmony with all the plants, everything in creation. And then the next cycle came around. And this cycle, by the way, has to do with Sedna. And I hope people will get curious. I know, forgive me, I am biased. I wrote a book on Sedna, but please ask questions, learn about this planet, because Sedna, while Pluto, just to give you a comparison, while Pluto has an orbit of 248 years, Sedna has an orbit of 10 to 12,000 years. The last time Sedna was in our solar system was when the waters rose and Atlantis met with its demise. Sedna is back to show us, because getting ahead of myself, but when the nodes were last in Scorpio and Taurus in 2003, that's when Sedna was discovered. And there's so much to this planet. There's so much to her astronomy, astrology, and mythology. But I'll leave it there for now.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I was wondering what exactly, brought the demise of Atlantis and Lemuria, what was going on astrologically. So that makes a lot of sense. So do you think, is this something that will just continue to happen each time Sedna comes around, or?
Well, honestly, that is up to us. There's so many things that Sedna represents. Let me just get out my notes here. To begin with, it's spiritual sovereignty. It is having a reverence for life. It's really getting back to the way we were able to live in Lemuria. And it is the harmonization, transcending trauma and suffering. So if I could, I want to get back a little bit to Scorpio, because Scorpio is the only sign in the zodiac. Oh, wonderful to meet you, Zach. Me too. I'm a Scorpio.
Yeah, he had a question also, but I'll pull it up after the Scorpio.
All right. So Scorpio is the only sign in the zodiac with 3 symbols. There's the scorpion, the phoenix, and the eagle. And I personally, you may not hear this, you won't hear this from any other astrologer, but I personally believe that Mars is the planet associated with the ego and Scorpio. So the scorpion, like the ego, seeks control. Nothing else matters but control. And so the scorpion will sting itself just to prevent another creature from having power over it. So keep that in mind. Then Pluto is the phoenix, the endless loop of death and rebirth, death and rebirth. And I, for one, I don't know about you, Zach, or other Scorpios out there, but I, for one, have been exhausted by pulling myself up from the bootstraps, creating yet another pathway out of the ashes of the old. I'm grateful that Spirit and Source has enabled me to do this, but it is exhausting. So here comes Sedna. I feel so strongly and passionately that Sedna represents the eagle. This is how we transcend the endless loop of death and rebirth, and where we can truly, by harmonizing those extreme polarities, harmonizing them, bringing them back into the center, working on our own triggers, doing the inner work to transform the shadow. This is how we find the current of source and soar like the eagle. So to answer your question, Lily, I believe we are writing our own script. We are in uncharted territory. And that is the other important thing about Sedna. It was the first planet to be named its own category, to be given its own classification by the astronomers, Sednoid. It is part of the...
I've never heard of this before.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I only know Alan Clay wrote a book called Sedna Consciousness, and I wrote The Return of Planet Sedna, Astrology, Healing, and the Return of the Awakening, of Cosmic Kundalini. So Sedna is associated with water. She is the immortal sea woman from Inuit culture. She's also the first planet to have been named outside Greco-Roman tradition, bringing ancient history back to North America, the Inuit culture, and the Native Americans. So this is where shamanism comes in, doing the shadow work. So yeah, broke tradition with Greco-Roman, outside, being named outside of that. The first planet to have been named by or after a female entity, other than Venus or since Venus. Eris was discovered in 2005, but Sedna was discovered in 2003. But she's bringing up our what we can learn from water. And that's why I wanted to talk about just a little bit about the 4 elements, but we all have water. The earth is 80% water. Our bodies are 70 to 80% water. When you join 2 water molecules, you cannot separate them. So it is this ocean of consciousness in which we all swim. And as we clean up our own consciousness, we contribute to the cleaning up of the pollution in our physical waters and in our ocean of consciousness.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. And we're really working on that divine feminine, bringing
Absolutely.
back the divine. Yeah. After the Mary Magdalene activation on Sunday, that one, I've actually haven't felt so much peace and love in a long time since after doing that. And I realized, oh, wow, the divine feminine really needed to be healed. Really.
Thank you for saying that. The visions that I've had lately in meditation, when Sananda, Yeshua, appears, he never appears anymore without Mary Magdalene. And in one of my recent, actually before I started doing your activations, this vision occurred. I saw Mary, I saw her kneeling before him. And in this vision or visitation, he reached out to her and pulled her up. It's like they were showing me, we must be in balance. We must be seen as equal, and we must see each other as equal partners. And this is the yin and yang. And I believe that, again, this is why Sedna has come back. Getting back to the winter solstice, the galactic winter solstice, we know that for multiple millennia now, the pendulum has swung over to a yang-oriented consciousness in our society. It's all about competing, comparing, conquering. Success is measured by what we see. And Sedna, divine feminine, I mean, it's many more than Sedna. Mary Magdalene, so many are returning to remind us that divine feminine and masculine must be in balance. It can't be power over by one over the other. So again, harmonization and balance.
Right, definitely. And going back to Zach, and also thank you, Kearns11. I appreciate the super chat. And Zach, Zach asked, how do we align with how the planet is going through the winter solstice? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, Zach, every single signature, we each have our own unique constellation. So depending on what sign is on your Eastern point, the rising sign, that determines which sign is going to rule or govern each one of the houses, the 12 sectors. And depending on that signature, the planets in the sky are going to come along and interact with that at various angles. Some are harmonious, some are bringing up tension. And it's all, of course, for the purpose of growth and greater understanding. So, but I do have, and I hope we have time at the very end of this, I have affirmations and planetary harmonic activations that are sound, like blends of the planetary harmonics. And this will help you align sound. Absolutely. As we know, from doing Lily's activations, we know that sound immediately transforms what it touches, and it is bringing into harmony what is out of balance, and it is helping us move through any stagnation. So sound will definitely help you align. That's the quickest answer I can give you on this show. I do readings. Please, if you would like more information, I would be happy to help you with that.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I would also like to add something that I experienced today with the solstice. I had somebody reach out to me with some drama from like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was just so blown away. And I was like, what? Like, where did that even come from? And then doing some digging in the solstice, the energies right now could bring up conflict. And it's also a time for clearing karma. So I realized, I was kind of meditating on it for a minute and realized, that was a karmic thing. That was a karmic thing. So, then it became less like I didn't take it so personally anymore. I was able to, just kind of cleared it, let it go. But it was so out of left field. I was like, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
And so basically kind of what some meditating and things that I did today were for the solstice was, it's the rebirth of the sun, like Jennifer said. The sun, now our days are going to be getting longer. So this can be kind of a rebirth for you as well. Clearing any karma, alignment, kind of reflecting on yourself, what is in alignment, what isn't in alignment, letting go of old habits, which I feel like has been the energy for the past at least month, very heavily.
Definitely.
Yeah, all about it.
And in 2023, we are going to have many, many shifts. So Mars shifts into Cancer. It's been retrograde in Gemini for a while. How's that been for you, Lily? Maybe you haven't.
How long has that been?
I forget when it went retrograde, but when it goes retrograde, it stays in a sign for about 6 weeks. So normally it's going to move fast. But anyway, we will have in January, mid-January, we will have Mercury and Mars going direct. So that will be the real feel of the new year. So that's another new shift, newness, new energies coming in. March 7th, Saturn moves into Pisces. That's a big shift. March 23, Pluto moves into Aquarius, another big shift. May, Jupiter moves into Taurus. And then June 15th, Sedna moves into Gemini. When you have Pluto, planets as far out as Pluto and Sedna shifting into a sign, believe you me, we are going to feel it across the land.
That's a few days before my birthday too, when Sedna goes into Gemini. So that's yeah. Let's talk about kind of shift. And thank you so much, David, for the super chat. And also, before we keep going, I almost forgot. I'm pulling winners or a winner for the CBD contest for anybody who donates a super chat of any amount. I'm pulling that on the next activation, which this Sunday is Christmas. I'm not 100% sure. If and when I'll probably go live. I'll probably do a Christmas activation, but not set in stone yet. But yeah, so for anybody who donates any super chats, you'll be entered in to win a free bottle of CBD. And also there's a 20% off for Hopewell Farms CBD, a new coupon code in the description. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I scratched that. So we're pulling a winner next activation. So thank you, David. Yeah, the new year. So we've got a new moon that's coming up. And I wanted to ask you your kind of thoughts on the new moon as well, like kind of what's good, what kind of practices are good to be doing, around that time, and what kind of energy can people expect? And then also maybe let's talk a little bit about the new year, kind of, what we intuitively feel is in the forecast for what's coming up. I think a lot.
Big shifts in 2023. But to answer your question about the moon cycles. So yes, we are right now today experiencing the winter solstice. However, the moon itself has not caught up to the sun. Winter solstice is when the sun enters the sign of Capricorn. So the moon is at, I want to say it's in Sagittarius. I don't remember the exact degree, but December 23rd, in just a few days, it will be in the new moon. It'll be conjunct the sun, and we'll be starting a new cycle in Capricorn. So anytime we have a new moon, that is a brand new cycle. That is when you want to be doing your affirmations or starting something new, or beginning new projects. At the full moon, that is when we experience the fullness or completion of things. So it's not, the whole time that the moon is waxing to full, that is when you want to be building something new or working on something. You don't want to launch any new projects after the full moon, because that's when the moon is waning and that energy starts to dissipate. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's perfect. That makes total sense. And on the full moons, the energy, that's a good time to charge your crystals and your moon water.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it is.
So that's exciting about the new moon. Really, it feels like the whole theme is like rebirth, starting fresh. And even like with my nails, I chose black nails. I've had these on for a bit, but in what the star beings have been showing me and source have been showing me, this was like my death and rebirth nails and theme for the month. So I'm like, wow, this is perfect. It's literally like coinciding perfectly. So rebirth, whenever you guys want to create new visions for yourself, start new projects, let go of all the old stuff. You're not who you were yesterday,
Absolutely.
And Desert Daisy asked a really good question. I'm wondering this also. Can you explain how retrogrades affect you when the planet is in your sign in retrograde, or just in retrograde in general? Because everybody freaks out about Mercury retrograde.
Well, the reason we feel Mercury retrograde, so it's in our face because Mercury is close to the Earth, and Mercury rules all communication, everything. So technology, our cars, all things mechanical, the way our brain works, so we think that we've communicated something clearly, and it just ends up not being clear at all. It's like clear as mud to the other person. So Mercury, we do feel right away. It's because it is so close to the Earth. But when a planet is in your sign and it's retrograde, or if you have, let's say, a personal planet, by that I mean Mercury, Mars, Venus, the planets that are closer to Earth. If you have a personal planet in your chart that is retrograde, I have Venus retrograde and in my natal chart. So retrograde is a repeat, unfortunately, in the natal chart. I want to make this clear. If you have retrograde in your natal chart, it means you've got to really do a lot of inner work, even more inner work, because you're going to be repeating patterns until you get it right. And Venus retrograde, Venus rules our relationships and our resources. So in a natal chart, retrograde it comes into maturation, but it's going to be activated by larger cycles. When, however, and I think this is your real question, when transiting planets are retrograde in your sign, again, it's just a time to go within, to maybe revisit a project that you've been, like if you started a book and then you just couldn't continue, or you hit any kind of artistic block during the retrograde would be, depending on what sign it's in and what house in your chart it's in, the retrograde time is a great time to revisit it, to refine it. But retrogrades simply make the energy of the planet less obvious and more subtle. It's much more personal and inward focused. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, awesome. Somebody asked, where did it just go? Wayne asked, this could have been a personal thing, but let's see if Jennifer has anything to say about it. I got given the 23rd February 2023 date from Spirit a year or so ago. Is there any astrological significance?
Oh, that is pretty cool, because now I was remembering it as February 20th, but I can tell you right around that time. Okay, this goes back to the nodes and where they are in the sky: South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus. But mid-February, and I think it's around that date, the planets, let's see, the nodes form a grand cross to the nodes in the United States chart. So the United States South Node and North Node is at 6 degrees Aquarius South Node, 6 degrees North Node Leo. Mm-hmm. And mid-February of next year, the current nodes are going to be, because they move backwards. So they start at the higher degree and then they move backwards into the lower degree. So they will then be mid-February, 6 degrees of Scorpio and 6 degrees of Taurus. That is forming a cross, a grand cross in the fixed signs. But here's what's really interesting about those signs. The fixed signs represent the lion, the bull, the human, and the eagle. Mm-hmm. Lion is Leo, human Aquarius, bull is Taurus, and the eagle is Scorpio. So the four guardians of heaven are, and I read that as, I mean, okay, I will be honest, squares bring tension, okay? They're at crossed purposes, but the tensions are there to motivate us to awaken. And so with this grand cross occurring in the consciousness of the United States, that's up for discussion, but I feel like it's definitely a turning point. Squares are turning points. So it's like the Big Mac truck in a 4-way stop sign. It's got an inch forward, inch back, inch forward, but eventually it's going to make the turn. And so, okay, may I say one more thing? Yes. Okay, December 28th, 1 week from today, Pluto that planet I talked about that takes 248 years to make it all the way around the zodiac, it will be making its last conjunction to Pluto in the United States chart.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my view, what this means is that the shadowy, dark underbelly of our collective consciousness is being cleaned up big time, big time. And if you have ever endured a Pluto transit on your personal planets, you know that you are never, ever the same. And you cannot say no. It's like you have to completely surrender to source.
Mm.
So those people, and Pluto exposes the deepest crimes. What has been done in the dark will be revealed. So if you think that and Pluto teaches us right use of power. And we know how much there has been abuse of power, but they are being met with a reckoning, even though it hasn't been completely made public yet. I do believe that by mid-February, a lot of that is going to be revealed.
I think so too. And thank you, Melanie, for the super sticker. I think so too, because so I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did the Save the Children, Healing of the Children activation. They kept the star beings kept showing me children, 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 and then suddenly all of this stuff about the trafficking and everything.
Yes.
You know, they were showing me things on that. We
Yes.
did the Heal the Children activation, and then like 2 weeks later, all of those child trafficking accounts are exposed from Elon Musk and taken down on Twitter, like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them. And
Yeah.
you know, Elon's making all this public. He's cleaning that up. That's a huge disclosure. That put
Yes, it is.
right smack in the news, and not just in the news, but somebody's actually doing something about it.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's been a lot of work. You know, my favorite quote from The Way of the Peaceful Warrior is, "There's never nothing going on." And when you're talking about the yin elements, earth and water, there's a lot that goes on beneath the soil, beneath the surface, before that blade of grass appears in the visible world. You can look at a placid ocean and it looks like there's nothing going on, but it is teeming with life underneath.
Mm-hmm.
This is the difference between yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, Pluto is the god of the underworld. So I say this because there's been a lot going on for a very long time. And the whole time that Pluto has been getting close to the Pluto position in the United States chart and then going retrograde. And it because it moves so slowly, it hits that point about 5 times. This is its 5th and final time happening next week. And then we have all of these shifts in 2023. So these things that have been happening beneath the surface are going to be revealed.
That is so exciting. And there are so many moving parts. So many. There's a lot, you know, a lot of us, we feel like, you know, it's not happening. The awakening isn't happening fast enough, but there is so much going on that we don't see, that we don't know about. And something that definitely brought me some peace is, if you guys notice, Elon Musk and some of the other white hats, like you would say, or, you know, people who are starting to expose this, they're like super comfortable. They're, you know, kind of joking about it. I feel like they're way actually ahead than what we think. There are, it's like playing chess, but I believe there's some really big disclosures that are about to happen. And, you know, they're kind of like laughing and joking. They're, you know, they're not afraid. So we shouldn't be either. I think we're going to have some really huge disclosures coming up this year, definitely.
And language, you've said it before, Lily. Our language is so very powerful. And again, this is something I address. It's another one of send us messages. But in the Inuit culture, they talk about the power of language to either, invoke healing or to conjure very, very bad juju. And and I say that only because when I mentioned that we are writing our own script, we are basically in uncharted territory now. I mean, literally, with North Node in Taurus, we have never experienced any time in our lifetime an absence of war. We've never lived, without war or prosperity for all, even though we know that abundance is all around us and should be available to everyone. But the uncharted territory is also not giving our power away to other people and entities. We've got to take back our power, our spiritual sovereignty, and align with source energy every day and call in, that power, and tell anyone who would consciously invoke the dark to stand down. They do not have power over
Right.
us.
Yeah, lately the star beings have been telling me, well, the root chakra, really big on that, and then more recently also the solar plexus, starting to step into your power. Whenever your light starts to shine so bright and you get rid of all that gunk in those chakras, like boom, just picture yourself as like a huge like lamp just glowing so bright. And darkness does not officially exist. It is just the absence of light. So we just need to light ourselves up so bright.
Yes.
And stepping into our power. Definitely being sovereign, releasing, letting go of all of the trauma is a really big part of it, the healing that, because that trauma, those wounds keep the darkness in. So we really,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's important too for us humans to remember that being perfect is, this is not our goal. We need to be whole, and wholeness, just like the I Ching, allows for the shadow and the light. When we expect ourselves or others to live without error, you are going to draw that error to you. There's a difference between being pure and being perfect. I view pure as unconvoluted, uncontradicted energy. You know what you stand for, and every day you stand in that message, in that light. You stand in your truth. You may trip and fall, but it's about coming back to that alignment with source. It's not about living a perfect life. I hope I'm not, purity is not,
I got you.
Yeah. Thank you. Innocence, know?
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to mention the Grand Cross that you were just talking about.
Yes.
Wayne had mentioned he dreamt many years ago he saw a huge cross in the sky written in glow stars. So that could have been exactly what you were talking about, the thing that's happening in February. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
I don't think it's a coincidence that it aligns with the 4 guardians of heaven.
Right.
Lion, bull, man, and eagle.
Kearns 11 was asking, do the stars say when abundance will start? Like, can you see that in people's charts? Can you share a little bit about that?
That's really tricky because I don't use astrology in that way. We can definitely look at the weather patterns and what weather is it going to be sunny, and good weather for abundance. But my journey, and I already mentioned, it's been a long one for me because I have Venus retrograde and Venus rules resources. But since I have been committed to changing my own vibration and committed to saying that my mantra, Divine Mother, Father, God, is the infinite source for my infinite stream of supply. And when I align with that vibration, my financial situation has completely changed. I mean, I no longer stress.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different for everyone. To answer your question, I know what you're asking. When is it going to happen in the collective? The thing is, Nasara Jasara is already in play. When it's going to be made public, it's not up to me. It all depends on how safe it is to bring it about publicly, because there's still some cleanup that needs to take place. So I can tell you this, the faster that we do our own shadow work and feel prosperous, the sooner that we can feel vibrationally prosperous as much as we can every day, that's going to usher it in.
I agree with that 100%. And a lot of people, especially in the beginning, they would ask, when's this going to happen? You know, the time, and also worrying about things. I am not worried one bit. The star beings don't always show me what's going to happen in the future or give me timestamps for things, but their focus and what they have me focus on is the live activations, helping people through their shadow work, helping them to activate their DNA. That is number one priority, because the other stuff can't come until we do that.
Exactly. And yes, and staying in this now moment, because time is not linear. Past, present, and future exist right here, right now. And you know, in that most recent activation, Lily, I mentioned, or the one with the Arcturians, I mean, they actually showed me how I can change future timelines by going back into my past and rewriting it. You know, instead of being in a position where I was going to be hauled off to my death, they came in and they showed me how to transform that. And that was so powerful. I had goosebumps. So what I'm trying, and every time I've had a reading, they may have been accurate where the content was concerned, but never with timing. Never with timing, because time is fluid. It's just like the ocean. And so if we want to pull something in faster, we got to stay in the moment and match that vibration right now. So, you know, claim it for yourself, call it in, feel prosperous, look at the abundance around you. And my affirmations speak to this very abundance. So,
Yeah, I love it. Everything is happening now.
now. Exactly.
So we get to choose. And also, thank you, Feel Them Good Vibes, for the super chat. Yeah, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, that's just a super important piece, just focusing on, you know, what do you, so in the, like, things can be maybe written in the stars, but like with the astrology stuff, you still have the option to, you know, choose your reality, create your reality, and switch things up.
So here's the thing. We have no control over the planets in the sky.
Yeah.
None. They're going to move. They're going to trigger different parts of our chart, highlight that signature in different areas of life. What we have control over is how we respond to those cycles and that energy, just like the person who came back and just like out of the blue, where did this come from? And it didn't, you had to work a little bit so that it didn't sting, you know, like some of the points in our chart, the east-west axis, the parental axis, north-south, these are very sensitive points, like trigger points or acupuncture points. And if there's still pain or something out of balance that those points speak to, when a planet, you know, a transit triggers it or someone else does, it's just revealing where we still have work to do. But it's our response we need to be concerned with, not when our external world is going to change, because everything changes from the inside out. Everything does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's actually a message that I've been getting a lot this past week is it's all about you can't, like you just said, you can't change what's going on out there, but what you can change is how you are responding. So I'm starting to become aware anytime something triggers me. I make a decision. How am I going to react to this? Don't just getting triggered. It like it can happen easily sometimes, and it it can kind of suck. But if you just kind of stop yourself and become aware of that and then create. But yeah, that's been a really, really big message for me this week. So I love that you said that. And thank you, Lightning, for the super sticker. Our perception. You can change the way that you perceive things.
Totally.
And how you react. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Wayne Dyer used to always say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Maria asked, so with the birth chart and everything, does it matter the exact time? Maria asked, how can you estimate your birth time if you don't know the exact time?
Okay, so that there is a way to rectify your chart and find out your birth time. I am not an expert on that. However, there are other ways that you can determine, at least get close. You may not know the degree of your rising sign, but it's the rising sign that determines how the houses are set up in your chart. And it will certainly affect the moon's degree, because the moon moves faster than any of the other celestial bodies in the astrology chart. Mm-hmm. So I usually play with someone when you understand what Aries rising means, or Libra rising, or Leo rising, or any of that. You can pretty much identify what resonates with you. Oh yeah, that is definitely me. The rising sign is the lens through which you view life, and also how you dawn upon people, whether or not that's where your sun sign is. You can have a rising sign in Leo, let's say, and your sun is in Scorpio. Two very different, one is light, one is dark, literally, So you could have an optimistic lens that you view life through, and people could see you as very childlike, joyful, optimistic. But if you have a Scorpio sun, you're going to be reclusive. You're going to be more private. You're not going to want to shine so much. Leo likes to shine. Scorpios want to hide. So the lens, the point on the eastern horizon, your rising sign, is going to help you determine the approximate birth time, if not the exact. And then you can get a feel for how the planets in the sky are interacting with you. And also, look at friends and family and, determine who resonates with you and who doesn't. Like fire and air are complementary. They can resonate. All fire signs resonate with each other, and earth, etc. Anyway, I don't need to go down that. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that was kind of helpful because I was wondering, everybody always asks, what's your rising or whatever, and I don't know. I don't know what the most important parts is. So that makes sense.
Moon and rising sign are the basic trilogy of the personal story. But of course, we have Mercury, Mars, Venus, and all the other planets, and they mean something. I won't go into that.
Okay, that makes sense. So you've got a sun, moon, and a rising sign, and those are kind of the main things that you should look at in your.
They can tell you a lot about who you are and how you get along in the world.
Yeah. Kearns asked, a lot of people talk about life contract. Is that set in stone? Free will change what you agreed to? That's that's something that I had wondered too. Jennifer, do you have anything to say on that?
Man, I I've been asking that question of source my entire life, despite, and it's one of the reasons I got into astrology. Actually, the real reason I got into astrology was to understand myself. But again, it goes back to us understanding that we only have control over how we respond to life. But the timelines, I do think that there is something unique happening where time is concerned. And I feel like certain things in my life probably should have happened before, but there was a delay. Why did that delay happen? And I feel like the grand clock, which only source can move, let's say, it's a really, I'm sorry, I know I'm not answering this well, but I believe that there is a way for us to vibrationally, by working on ourselves, to shift to a higher timeline. It may not necessarily happen according to time the way we measure time. I feel like what we are, part of this galactic winter solstice, that we are peaking out and beginning the new golden age. I think that time is going to be so much more fluid. It's not going to be so cut and dried. It's not going to be so limiting. That's the word I'm looking for. Or it's not going to be important. We're just not really, we're going to be in the moment and be loving life so much that we're not going to be looking at our clocks or wondering, when is this going to happen? When's that going to happen?
Yeah.
When you're in joy, you're not really seeking something to make your life better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And what I would like to add on the soul contract is, I believe, the awareness, because most of the time, we don't, if there's been a repeating cycle in our life, we weren't, until you become actually aware of it and kind of look within, you can't change it. Awareness is the key. So the star beings sent me a dream and told me, negative contracts. They sent me a vision of somebody kind of like stabbing me in the back, and they said, negative contracts, cut those. So I got the message that there was, and they probably told me well before time, before I would have been hurt by whoever or whatever it was. And I became consciously aware of it. And then that's why I did the cord cutting and clearing karma activation a little bit ago. I cleared any negative contracts that are not for my highest good. So I think the awareness is a really big key. And then once you become aware of it, then you can change, you can set to a different route if you'd like. So I feel like a lot of these things we've planned for ourselves, but I've heard that you can cut any contract if you become aware of it and decide not to do it. So that's where the free will comes in.
Okay, and I would like to say this about astrology. The nodes that I've been talking about, South Node and North Node, those are points of destiny. So we do have a destiny, if you will, a purpose for incarnating. We wouldn't be here. So all of us are here to be participating in this huge cycle of change. I mean, we're changing ages from Pisces to Aquarius. So we do have a destiny and purpose. How we experience and how that destiny unfolds for us is absolutely governed by free will. And as Lily said, we have to, all those points of tension, those triggers, those transits, or any person who triggers us, we should rejoice, because they're messengers. Just like physical symptoms in the body are merely messengers saying, please take a look at this other cycle, this other pattern that is out of balance. The pain, the triggers are merely messengers pointing us in the right direction of what we need to heal. And the more, like I said, the more we do that cleanup work, and the more we can experience life from a place of joy and gratitude, then things begin to happen really quickly. Great things begin to happen, and that momentum picks up. So,
yeah, definitely. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Jay is somebody who's in the chat pretty frequently. Jay asked, what does winter solstice mean for Virgos? Just curious. Or can you tell us anything about Virgos, just quickly?
sure. Okay, Virgo is the sign that rules the 6th house of daily habits, routine, duties, the job rather than the job as opposed to the career, 10th house. But it also rules health. It's wanting it. Virgo's gift is you never miss a detail. You can see a gift that you're cultivating, okay, let's say, is to be able to see the magic in everyday life, the magic in the minutia, in the mind, tiny things. So for Virgo, the new moon in Capricorn coming up in a few days, Capricorn has resonance with Virgo, because Capricorn's earth, Virgo is earth, Taurus is earth. So there is a resonance there. What else can I tell you? It's an opportunity for everyone, but this new moon coming up is in harmony with Virgos.
Awesome. So that sounds good for Jay. Awesome.
Oh, okay. Virgos, please do not, if this is a habit, I hope maybe it is or isn't, please do not criticize yourself. Please refrain from feeling less than or that you're not good enough. You just by being here on the planet, every single one of us is worthy of abundance and happiness.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, who else is sleepy from the winter solstice today? I see some other people in the chat saying, have to go. Bye, Wayne. So I think we covered a good amount. Is there anything else that you would like to share about kind of the new moon or the solstice, or anything else that you would like?
Really, honestly, I would love to share the affirmations and the harmonic activations if we can spend 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And just, close your eyes and receive it and see what happens. All right. Here we go.
Perfect way to end it.
And Saturn for the Capricorn new moon. I now embrace a new cycle of spiritual mastery and integrity that gives structure to my destiny and purpose. Venus, Mercury, and Pluto in Capricorn for the conjunction. I now attract all that I love, communicate with integrity, and harmoniously blend authenticity and passion. Jupiter, Ceres, and Sun for the T-square from the Sun to Jupiter and Ceres. I recognize any tension arising within me as an opportunity for growth and courageous self-expression. Jupiter, Ceres, new moon for the T-square from the new moon to Jupiter and Ceres. The more I allow myself to feel and express, the faster I am able to heal and evolve. Jupiter, Ceres, and Sedna for the trine and sextile from Sedna to each of these planets. As I attune to the Great Mother and surrender to her care, I embody the true nature of unconditional love and prosperity. Pluto, Sedna, and Ceres for the trine. Abundance is all around me, even when I can't see it. And the more I trust, the more I feel supported by Source, who provides an ever-increasing and never-ending supply. That's the end.
That's it. Awesome.
I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was nice. You know, I love doing activations.
Yeah, I know you do. Did the sound come across all right?
Yeah, it was a little quiet in the beginning, but yeah, I think we could hear it okay. I could hear it okay. You got a little bit after the beginning.
For anyone who is interested, I do have a YouTube channel, modest, but it is there if anyone wants to hear it. Good. I'm glad you could feel them, because many people do. I was really feeling it in the heart, but the sound goes to where it needs to go. So
yeah,
thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, of course. I love that. And I was thinking also it'd be a good idea to just set some sort of an intention or do like a prayer together with the winter solstice and the new moon. So that was perfect. We all kind of took a minute to, set our intentions, do some affirmations. Beautiful. Yes. I loved it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And everybody, happy winter solstice, happy new moon that's coming up. Somebody asked, I think I just lost it, if we could talk about how to charge crystals. I can definitely talk about that. And so if you guys, well, I guess the new moon, I don't know if you leave your crystals out more for the full moon. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I may go live on Sunday. Sunday is Christmas. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll post in my Telegram group for the activation this weekend. And yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you guys so much.
Merry Christmas to you. And thank you for having me on, Lily.
Yeah. And Jennifer, also, her contact information, if you would like to reach out to her to do your natal chart, astrology, or check out her YouTube. Her information is in the description. Tongue twister.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you guys. Bye. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.